Welcome to Life Transformation Radio. This show is all about life transformations and our journey from where we were to why we are doing what we are doing today. We will discuss the hiccups, the roller coasters, and the blood, sweat, and tears that has been poured out while discovering our purpose. It is all about our transformations. Here is your host, Sean Douglas.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to another episode of Life Transformation Radio. I'm your host, Master Resilience Implementer, TEDx speaker, business positioning strategist, and international best-selling author, Sean Douglas. This show is currently heard in over 90 countries. So whether it's your first time joining us or you've been listening to us for some time, I want to thank you to those who are listening from around the world. Life Transformation Radio is all about our transformations. Here is where we tell the stories of why we're doing what we're doing, highlighting that transformational moment that changed our lives and how we use it to then transform others and elevate their lives as well. You can listen to us live right here on the Blog Talk Radio Network, Tuesday through Friday, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. You can join us by going to blogtalkradio.com/Life Transformation Radio. You can also join our Facebook group at Life Transformation Radio Community and never miss an episode by subscribing on your favorite podcast platform. Life Transformation Radio can be heard on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spreaker, Spotify, TuneIn, Player FM, Castbox, Overcast, Google Podcasts, Pandora, all the podcatchers, wherever you listen to podcasts. And you can subscribe to our YouTube channel at Life Transformation Radio, right there on YouTube. Go ahead and subscribe to the show wherever you are listening from. On the show, my guests are entrepreneurs, speakers, business owners, coaches, podcasters, authors, amazing human beings having an impact in the world around them. And my guest today has done it on a global scale. If you have any questions for any of the guests that I bring on the show during our live broadcast, go ahead and give us a call at 657-383-1109. Again, the number is 657-383-1109. Go ahead and give us a call and ask your question. And with that, please help me welcome to the show my amazing guest for today, Deborah Peters. Deborah, welcome to Life Transformation Radio.
Hey, Sean, thank you so much for having me today. It's great to be here.
Super pumped to have you on the show. We've been connected to Facebook for quite a while, on your email list. I mean, it's just amazing content that you put out into the world. And now we get to talk about it right here on the show. So I'm super honored to have you here.
I'm glad to be here at a time when I think everyone needs some support and some words of encouragement and to be uplifted.
For sure. Yeah, the last year, maybe year and a half leading into everything has just turned people's lives upside down. A lot of frustrations. Businesses have been upheavaled and up-leveled. Some people thrived. Some people were shut down forever, and they gave up and all that. So it's been quite a journey for people. And for you, I've seen the pivot. I've seen that experience in the neuro and in the mindset really play a key role in your development of other people. So I'm sure I speak on everybody. I really appreciate that because I know the content that you put out really helped.
You know, the whole point of this, I think, is to give people the awareness. If we just even start with awareness, you know, you can't change something you're not willing to look at. So you have to have the awareness. And for me, to be able to help people see those blind spots that they have that keep them from moving forward, I mean, how does it get better than that? You know, that's really just the joy of my day.
Right. Absolutely. Yep. I can agree with that. So the title of this episode is Business Growth and Mindset Tools to Thrive with Deborah Peters. She is an international business coach, a mindset expert, and founder of Neuro Engineering Institute, a consulting company that transforms business owners from efforting and grinding to creating more with less effort consistently. Her approach to leadership development, business scale, and mindset repatterning over 20-plus years in over 17 countries, working with a wide variety of industries, is leading edge. Deborah is educated in both business strategy and neuroscience, understanding growth from both a pragmatic, roll up your sleeves and execute perspective, as well as the power of the human mind to create and achieve through all kinds of circumstances. Her global experience working in and with many cultures and markets gives her a unique awareness of how people develop businesses and achieve objectives in diverse markets that most people don't have. Deborah utilizes her deep level of experience with a wide level of knowledge through many industries, institutions, and organizations, consulting and coaching companies and leaders into high levels of success. Her website is right there in the show notes. It is neimind.com, neimind.com. Her Facebook and LinkedIn links are right there in the show notes. Connect with those, click those, send her a friend request letting her know that you listened to this episode of Life Transformation Radio. Deborah, the first question that I have to ask, and I believe is the most important question we can really ask ourselves, is why? Why do you do what you do?
Why is everything, isn't it, Sean? I mean,
yeah.
When it gets tough and it's challenging and things don't work the way you anticipated them to, if you don't have your why, that's when people give up. You know, most people quit just before the miracle. So I get it. You know, it's like I wouldn't expect you to ask me any other question straight out of the chute. So my why is it's kind of bittersweet, you know, because my dad died when I was 7, and he died of alcoholism, and you know he was a war veteran, and it just like that experience really fractured my family, and my family has never recovered or rebonded. And I remember going through that experience, and I mean, I've always had an insatiable appetite for human behavior. You know, we lived on a farm in a rural, pretty remotely rural area, and it was a 1-hour bus ride one way to school. So there was lots of opportunity to you know, daydream, use my imagination. And as kids would get on and off the school bus, I would always ask myself, to me it was like a phenomenon, why some families lived completely different realities than others. And, you know, we were all pretty much growing the same crops and, you know, living the same life pretty much. And just was like, wow, like this family's struggling and this family's not. And so when my dad died, I was like, you know, it doesn't have to be this way. And I'm going to change it. I'm going to be the pioneer in this family that halts history and reinvents our family lineage. And it just was this, still is, you know, it's a driving force in me that I just like, it never lets go of me. It's every day.
I love it. Yeah, I love that. I know a lot of times, I don't know about the whole world or the human population or whatever, but a lot of people that I've talked to, the one thing they remember is moments from when they were a kid, moments from the things that their parents did and how it made them feel, and then as an adult, they replicate it or they use it as a positive experience or they use it as a motivator. You know, we're always drawing on our past, especially like as parents. Like, I got 4 kids, And I know, I was like, well, how did my mom do this? And was that a good role model? How did my dad, which kind of wasn't there ever? What about, my aunts or uncle or grandparents or friends' parents, or, whatever. We're always trying to draw this, well, they did it this way. Well, let me use that. And I don't know, maybe you can speak to that. Maybe we're doing that as validation. Maybe the way that we felt, we want to recreate that for somebody else and make them feel that same way because we were safe in that environment. I think a lot of times we parent our children the way that maybe we wanted to be parented. Because I remember saying, I'll never do that to my kids. I'll never do that to my kids. And I ended up doing exactly what my mom did to us. Well, my mom did it this way. And, so I think that's a very interesting point that you bring up.
Yeah, it's some people do the opposite of what their parents did. And some people, they do it the exact same way. And, the tricky part is whether you're conscious of it or not is really the tricky part because, if there's, let's say there's abuse in a family, if you can wake up and say, I see this as abuse as unnecessary, therefore I'm not going to continue it, rather than just, unconsciously repeating patterns. And this is really the turning point I feel that we're all experiencing across the planet right now. It's just waking up to being ourselves, right, and taking stock and choosing to be accountable to what we're putting out there. Because, I don't think ever in history humanity has just been this self-aware, at least not in – I've been doing this, Sean, for like 20 years in, 17 countries, and I have not really changed the message that much, and yet the response I get compared to even 5 years ago is completely different. Whereas, speaking on a stage or at a conference or leading an executive roundtable for a company or something like that, strategy session, I would say things that would kind of roll off of people, like they could hear the words, but they couldn't hear me. And now it's like people are like nodding their head and going, yeah, like, yesterday, for example, I did a goal setting exercise with an entire management team of a mortgage bank, so they could, like a train the trainer kind of thing, and they were just like, I got tons of emails immediately after going, oh my God, you totally made me think. Like this one fellow said, I said, what's your takeaway? And he goes, I'm sitting here completely flabbergasted of, like, what am I waiting for? Like he had that moment, like, what am I waiting for? So that's it. It's a great time to be alive, and I know we're all going through a lot of pain and hardship and challenges and uncharted territory. But this is the time. You can create your own reality, and this is the time.
I love that message. I love that. So if we sit here and we wait for things to happen, most of the time the opportunities will pass us by. But in some cases, we do take that opportunity and our life goes left or right or straight, or we become some sort of a transformation of ourselves. Which leads me to my next question. Your transformation. Can you name a time that you went through? We have a lot of transformations, but what would you say is a transformational moment for you that changed you in a way that put you on the path to what you're doing today?
Yeah, totally. I was a single mom and mom, very young. I was in high school.
Wow.
And I remember when my daughter was, she was still kind of prepubescent, like not quite into the teen years yet. And going through that, you know how it is when you're a kid that age, like nothing makes sense. And
Right.
It's weird because you're not really a little kid anymore, but you're not really a teenager either. You know, you're in that space. And I remember one time we were having this debate about, you know, the rules, like what she could or couldn't do at that age. And I heard my mother, and I heard this myself saying these things that, again, they were just unconscious. I mean, I was just repeating something, and I hadn't really thought it through. And in that moment, I was like, okay, I'm not doing this. I'm not repeating those patterns. It's, you know, that relationship dynamic between me and my mom didn't work, and it's why I was a teenage mother. And, you know, I didn't want that. And I'd already made a decision, like many years prior, that I was going to be the pioneer in the family and forge new pathways of thinking and living life. So that was it. You know, I made a decision to dig into personal growth programs, and I started out taking a communication skills class, and man, the rest is history. It's like,
love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I love that you take action. That's what I love the most, that you didn't just settle and you just forged ahead and you forged through. I mean, you look at what you've accomplished in many different countries. Most people would dream of doing that, but would never figure it out. They would never say yes and figure it out. And I think that every time we go through a transformative moment, it just pushes us further into the path or onto the path that we're supposed to be on. And it sounds like you were, because of home circumstances and whatnot, that you were traveling down a path that was like, uh-oh, here we go. Right? Like, are we repeating history, or like what are we doing? And you made a decision. You said, you know what? This is what I'm going to do. And then you went forward with it. And you made it happen.
Wow.
And you look back at the last 20 years, and it's all you. It's all the team around you. It's all this is what I'm going to do, and forge ahead. And I love that.
Thank you. I have to say that there's times where I didn't want to take action because it meant I was going to have to change. But for me, you know, two things. You know, I just thank God every day that I've always had that force in me to never settle, and also it was always more painful, Sean, to not act. You know, I would weigh it out, and I would be like, okay, I feel horrible right now. Like I feel like I'm dying inside, and that was when I wasn't acting. So then I would take action, and even though I was afraid, it was less painful than feeling that pain of dying inside. It's just like,
wow.
Lesser of two evils, right?
Right. Well, they always say that if you're not growing, you're dying.
I know.
Right?
And what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Yeah, I was just going to say, then what doesn't kill you? Right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Totally.
Great point. So we've gone through 20 years, right? I mean, you've worked with businesses all over the world. You've worked with Boeing, and you've worked with countries, and you've worked inside organizations as far as like city councils and city managers. And I mean, you've worked with cities, you've worked with countries, you've worked with businesses. I mean, you've worked with everybody. How is it that Deborah elevates the world around her? Everybody would love to have those opportunities. How do you elevate the world around you?
Well, I would say that it's reminding people that they're thrivers. I really see this false narrative that life is hard, that life is a struggle, that business fails. I see this narrative, and people buy into it. People believe it. You know, it's the first thing out in a conversation. You know, the statistics on how many businesses fail, or that you know, to get to the next level is really hard, and you have to sacrifice, and you have to suffer, and you have to struggle, and I just am tired of seeing that and it controlling people's expectations to the point where they actually buy into it so much that they create it and then they defend it. It's like, see, I told you it was hard. And it's like, yes, but
right.
It wouldn't have been hard if you wouldn't have insisted on it being hard. You know, success is an inside job, and whatever we expect something to be. Have you ever noticed, you've got kids, right? So for all the people listening that have children, have you ever noticed how your children will do exactly what you expect of them? So if you expect them to be bad or noisy or misbehaved or you know, arguing with their siblings or their friends, that's what you're going to see in them. And that's how it works with yourself, with your life. You know, what you see and what you feel, which, you know, I want to touch on that for a second, is what you see and what you feel is what you manifest, what you become. And the feeling part, pretty much every coach or motivational speaker or book is going to tell you it's about visualization. And I'm here to tell you it's about the feeling. It's about the feeling. When you get the feeling, you are formidable. When you're in the zone, and you know that, right? When you're in the zone, like that runner's high they talk about, you know, it's like when you're in the zone, you just can go forever.
Yep.
And that's it. That's locking your mind and your emotions and your feelings, because emotions and feelings are very different. When you lock that onto a goal and then you listen and you feel your way through the steps, anything's possible.
Yep. Oh, it's so good. Yeah, absolutely. There's been so many times, not even last year, just every year, you know, like, you know, that funny picture of like how I think business is, and it's like a straight line, and it's like how business really is, and it's like squiggly, and it's up and down, and it's like all over the place. And like,
I like that one.
I love it. I think we do that to ourselves, though. I mean, I really do.
Sure.
I was so concentrating last year on like, man, this is like, I went in, I was like, because I was in Utah in March, and they said, we're shutting down. Like, I was at an event, I was there for like a week, you're like, we're shutting down. Like, what do you mean we're shutting down? Like, we're shutting down. Everybody's going home, we're shutting down. Like, what? Like, oh yeah, the whole world, we're shutting down. COVID, we're shutting down. Like, this is crazy. And all of a sudden, like, flights were like crazy. People trying to get to where they got to go, and like, oh no, we're shutting down. And then the mask thing, and it was like everything just all at once. And I told my wife, I was like, this is it. This is it. This is going to test people. This is going to determine the strong survive, right? This right here is going, because anybody can do it when you know, when there's abundance everywhere, in a sense that everybody is an online entrepreneur, everybody's, you know, thriving, or everybody's selling houses, or everybody. I mean, life is so amazing.
Yeah.
We're going to see. We're going to test. We're going to see. And there's a lot of my friends that were like, man, I can't do it, and I got to close down. I'm like, no, dude, you could do it. Like, keep going. Like, there's so many programs out there, and, you know, they've got, you know, loans and grants, and, like, whatever you need, just, like, pivot, man. You got to pivot. You got to go with the times. They're like, no, I'm just going to get a job. Like, we're going to get a job. Like, where? Like, oh, the companies are hiring, you know. I'm like, what? So I know a lot of my friends went and been truck drivers because they needed truckers because everybody was online shopping.
Sure.
So they pivoted, all right. They pivoted into a different industry that had a lot of job creation, right? And I was like, man, like they were really good. Like I thought they were amazing. Or they shut down their podcast. So they were just like, you know what? I'm not doing this anymore. I don't really want to, be in this industry. I'm just going to kind of do my own thing, whatever. Like, wow, I thought you were an influencer. Like, so crazy. It was a transformation that they went through, And I just think about everybody that I talked to and following you and then talking to like everybody else that I've been following and talking and having many conversations with over Zoom or phone calls or virtual coffees, whatever you want to call it. And it's just, man, people were like they had the same mindset. And I think you did too. It was like, this is it. Like as a mindset expert, I mean, I know you probably sat there like, okay, this is happening. Acceptance time. This is happening. How do we get through it? I believe that's a conversation that you probably had with yourself.
Well, actually, I said to myself, I'm not doing this. This is not real for me. I did, Sean. I know I might have totally blown that statement you made out of the water, but
totally gone.
Yeah, so I just was like, okay, Deborah, remember, you create your own reality. So what's your reality going to be?
Yeah.
And so here's what I did is I rewrote all my curriculum over the month.
Wow.
And I rewrote it all because I realized that given what we were experiencing on the planet, that the curriculum I had didn't take that level of dissonance into consideration. And dissonance is when people really get motivated to change things, right? So I rewrote all the curriculum and I changed my diet. So I went full on healthy keto, intermittent fasting. I changed my entire exercise routine, and I once the gyms were closed, I had to borrow weights. I had to borrow weights because you couldn't buy them; they were sold out.
Right.
And so I borrowed some weights from an LAPD buddy of mine that had extras, and I just started pounding the weights and doing push-ups and old school sit-ups and like plyometrics in my apartment and out on the street, where I had some privacy, and I just refused. I refused to accept it. I ramped up my meditation. I started praying. I started writing out my visions. I just took everything I knew and I just went into hyper mode.
Wow. Interesting. Wow.
Yeah. And it was a cool test.
That is like the exact opposite of what I did.
Well, it was a cool test. Totally, because here's what happened for me. It's like there were times where I remember this one night, I was so angry at everything that I woke up one night in the middle of the night screaming cuss words. Like I was like, what is that racket? Like, who's making all this? It was me. It was like, my gosh. And it was just like I had to vent. I had to get it out of my system. And the really cool thing that came from that is all of the stuff, not all because we're always a work in progress, but I would say like the big pieces of old programming that was still sort of hovering in the background, any limiting beliefs about self-worth or I think most people suffer from a self-worth issue. At least that's been my experience coaching over the years. Like even the most
absolutely
right, even the most like I've coached a couple billionaires, which has been a fascinating experience for me. I had You know, I've had lunch on super yachts with these guys and talked about their business growth and you know, even people at that level still have self-worth doubts, and it just gave me, you know, without going on and on about it, it just gave me a really, I just saw it as an opportunity to really just ask myself, you know, like, what do you really want here? Like, what do you really want? Are you going to let this take you down? You can have a baby at 15 and raise you yourself and finish high school and go to college and run businesses, and you're going to let this take you down? Nah. Right. Not doing it.
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, I was the complete opposite. I was like, all right, like embrace the suck, because here it comes, you know. And it was like, okay, so everybody's going to be online. So it was crazy because, like, in April, Zoom crashed. So many people were online in April and May. Zoom crashed. They had to bump up their servers, and it was a lot of shoring up. I bought stock in Slack. I bought stock in Zoom.
Smart.
I bought stock in oil. Like, I bought ETFs. Like, I was like, all right, if my business goes under, at least I got stock market going. You know, like,
good for you.
Everything tanked in March. Started kind of leveling out in April. I bought, like, you know, ETF, like oil funds. You know, I invested in. I was like, where are most people going to start doing business? I never liked Trello, but, like, I bought stock in Slack. I bought stock in Zoom. I bought stock in, like, a lot of online, like, video game places and some other stuff. Okay, I'm short up there, you know, and I was like, okay, now what? Now everybody's online. You think there's competition now? Shoot, or before. You should see it now. I mean, everybody's fighting for, you know, like, again, how do you be different? How do you stand out? It's what our number one question is as business owners. Like, how do we stand out? How do we get above the noise? Like, what do we got to do? And I just looked at it. I was like, well, where's everybody's attention going to go? Where's everybody going to be focusing? Right? So a lot of people were focusing on, like, the news. It was focusing on, like, getting updates and everything. I was like, let's say, if I could put some ads there, if I could put some marketing there, so what I did was I said, hey, we're locked down. Most people are working from home. Now is the time to write your book. You're at home. So I'm launching, like, 4 or 5 bestsellers right out the gate, like middle of 2020. We launched 4 best-selling books for our clients. And then I said, okay, that works. How about podcasts? Let's launch some podcasts. So we ended up launching a new show ourselves, and then said, hey, what about everybody else? Let's launch their shows. And then all of a sudden you've seen a huge influx. Time to launch a show. Time to launch a podcast. I mean, it was so many people talking about launching podcasts. I mean, that was like the talk. And now it's Clubhouse, being on Clubhouse in these rooms. And, you know, it's just it's crazy how the event space was completely shut down. And I told people years ago, even when I first started professionally, so I've been speaking since 2009, but, like, professionally speaking, getting a lot of money for since 2015, 2016. And I learned what speak to sell was, and I learned what selling from stage was. And I said, man, that is not a good business model to have. Sure, you make money. Sure, you get clients from it. Yeah, that's great. But if that's all you're doing, that is not that's just not going to work, because if the event space goes down, what happens? Your revenue stream is done. Where are you going to get your clients from now, right? So that's when, like, the podcasting and, like, all that started taking shape. And I said, you know, the people who are, like, you know, platform speakers, like, they'll pay the $5,000 or $10,000 or $20,000 at an event to then speak and then sell something. Well, when that event is not there, now where do you sell? So then we started being like, hey, you need to start pivoting now because of this. And I started just going through scenarios in my head. And then a lot of pivoting happened, and, you know, people started, like, realizing And then all the virtual summits are here now, and people have been launching virtual summits and the podcasts and the whole thing. So it's I think it's been a very transformative 12 months since, because about this time last year, it was getting real serious, and I was leaving for Utah like middle of March. It was right around the time that we were there, like middle of March. Yep, we were in Utah, and they were like, "We're done. We're shutting down." After about 4 days, we were there. Supposed to be there for like a week and a half, doing trainings and seminars and leadership stuff, and all that whole thing. But we did 4 days of training, and then they were like, "We're done. We're going home." What?
Yeah, that's crazy. While you were going out there, I was going inward. I mean, that's where the when I ramped up the meditating and the changed my diet and all that, that's when the downloads started coming in terms of how to rewrite my curriculum. I mean, it just was like the more I guess like triggered I was by everything that was going on and how people were being affected, the more I channeled that into tools for folks, because I figured if I'm triggered by it and I've got all these tools, how about all the people that don't have tools? Like, how are they feeling? And so from that perspective, I just rewrote everything. And then I actually had a business boot camp set up for March, probably about the time you were in Utah. And I postponed it. Yeah, I postponed it. And I just kept, I just basically said to everybody, look, we're going to put this on the shelf. I'm going to work with you online until we know intuitively it's the right moment, and then we'll reset dates. And everybody was like, yeah, thank you. So that's what we did. And then I gave them the option, do you want to do something virtual, or do you want to wait another month and we'll do something in person, and we'll scale back the group size, and if I have to do 2 or 3 of these, and just do small groups, right? So we did, and so we set it up for June, and I just pared everybody down to like 10 or less people, and it was an opportunity to roll out the new curriculum, and it was just like, boom. It was like, now it's just blowing up. Yeah. So I think the message here in this is like, there's no real, and I want to say this because I think this is important for everybody here. There's no right or wrong way to do this, or anything for that matter. It's like you have to, the key here is to, because you don't have to do anything, but the key here is to like really get dialed into your intuition, your gut feeling, use your feelings, take your feelings, tune into your feelings, send your feelings out to get a sense of what the energy of situations are, what the energy of your potential clients are, what the energy, get dialed into that, because that's really what we all can absolutely navigate by and not be led astray, as opposed to some sort of, media message that has an agenda behind it, right? In fact, I did this webinar back in the fall called The Science of Propaganda, and I basically unpacked how patterning and programming and conditioning happens neurologically and how it impacts our lives. So, the essence of that is pretty much everything you own, drive, wear, eat, watch is a product of programming. You've been told that that's the cool thing to do. And so the key here, I think, really is, I don't want anybody to think that the way I did it was the right way or the wrong way, or the way you did it was the right way or the wrong way. We're in a time now where you really have to get tuned into your way. It's your way. What's your way?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Absolutely, I'd agree with that. So speaking of putting things on the shelf and the events and everything that's going on last year, you actually have an event coming up very, very soon.
I do.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah, so it's the new curriculum polished up even more. You know, it's a business accelerator boot camp that is limited, Sean. It's like it has to be limited to attendees because it's so high level, and it's a high touch program. You know, when you're sitting at the table, you get everything I know. You know, I'm that person that I don't hold anything back because I don't feel like I need to do that. I feel that if I teach you everything in my toolbox, more tools will come through me for the next one, you know? And the key here is to help, like basically it fits small, you know, it's a good fit for small business owners, entrepreneurs, leadership teams of mid-sized companies that are either needing to refresh their business model, their annual strategic plan, their mindset, their perceptions in the way they approach their business growth, or maybe they just need a complete do-over. You know, it's not always about coming out of struggle. Maybe it's about navigating all the success you're having, right? Because that in and of itself is another issue. So yeah, it's a 3-day program. So the first 2 days is business boot camp and mindset tools, and then the third day is a bonus day. It's a special program I created about beliefs and programs around money, because everybody has their thing with money. You know, some people think it's a limited supply. Some people think it's hard to come by. Some people think it's evil, or it's illegal, or it's dirty. You know, everybody's got a story. Yeah, so that's day 3. It's the Shift, Change, Heal Your Money story course, and it's all about looking at how you've been programmed to have a relationship with money and how to open up that receiving and allowing, because I don't think there's ever really too much of an issue about how hard people are willing to work. It's whether you're willing to receive. You know, if hard work was the answer, every waiter, housekeeper, gardener, construction worker would be uber wealthy. It's really about one's ability to receive.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, it's absolutely amazing and a great message. So if somebody wants to join that Business Accelerator, how would they do that?
Well, I'll pop the link over to you, and I've got a gift for everybody. Yeah, so I've got a really nice gift. So I've got this cool, very cool exercise, downloadable, how to map a goal so that you install it into your subconscious, and then your mind creates it with you instead of, you know, wanting something and then sabotaging with belief and all that. So I've got a great tool for that. I'll shoot it over to you, and you can give it out to your people. And
very cool.
The link will be in there for the boot camp. There is an application process for the boot camp, because it's really important to have the right fit here. You know, it's not about putting 1 million people in one room, not that you could anyway, given the circumstances, but you understand what I'm saying. It's really about making sure that this is the right toolbox for the business leader at the right time in their journey.
I like it. Very cool. Yeah, as soon as you send that over to me, I'll put it out through the email list, and I'll send it out to all the listeners and put it in the show notes. And yeah, I think it's going to be great, amazing. And like you said, the mindset of people's relationship with money, man, so many times I've seen it hold people back from thinking that there's no abundance to believing there's no abundance. They grew up with no abundance. That's all they know. Like, oh, man, your mind manifests so much or so little, depending on where it's at. So absolutely.
Absolutely. So true. Yeah, and I haven't shared this with you yet, I don't think, but I'm working on right now developing a cross-country road trip where I'm going to be traveling from Los Angeles to Miami and then up through the South, and then who knows where I'll go. And I'm available to work with companies, come in and do your strategy session, whiteboard out your next year or two, speak at any business events. I mean, anywhere that's open that is wanting to have some in-person human guidance that is very high level and geared towards success. Right. So, yeah, that's coming together nicely.
Very cool. Oh, that's super cool. That sounds like a lot of fun.
I love road trips.
Yeah.
I love road trips.
My wife keeps like, we need to get an RV. Like, we have to get an RV because we're always taking road trips. Because I'll get booked to speak in like South Carolina, like Myrtle Beach. In 2019, I got booked there twice, and we took the family down there. I love speaking on the weekends because they're not in school and kind of doesn't affect things. And we went down there to Myrtle Beach, and the kids had a blast. It just so happens that I got booked there again a couple months later. And I was like, hey, kids, guess what? We're going back to Myrtle Beach. They're like, awesome. Like, there's so much that we still wanted to do. So they loved it. We go for the weekend. It's only like 3-4 hours away from our house. We've gone to Florida. We've gone all over the place. Virginia. We've gone to we went to Las Vegas one time. I was like, screw it. I got booked to Las Vegas. Kids, you can't do a whole lot, but we're going to go through Las Vegas. And they were just mesmerized by the lights.
I'm sure.
So when you're 18, 21, in some instances, then you can go. But, yeah, just Google, like, things to do for kids. So during the day, we go out and do things with the kids and whatever. And then just at dark, whenever the lights were, like, the big thing, right? We drive through and they can see all the lights. Like, wow. I'm like, okay, we got to go because crazy people are coming out. And, like, time for all the adults are playing. Now it's playtime.
So much fun.
But they loved it. Took them to the fountain. Like, they loved it in Las Vegas. But yeah, so I always like bringing my family on speaking gigs, because they get to experience things that they'll never get to experience again had I not been doing this. I love road trips so much. And they've come to love road trips too. Like, where are we going? So,
I've done that as well. Besides, I did that in September. I did 7 states in September. And then I've also done that a lot in Europe where I'll just like fly into a major hub and then take the train, because trains in Europe are super cool and clean and you can work on them, and they've got all the plugins and whatnot. And I've just gone from country to country, speaking, coaching, training. Just like, I'm totally a gypsy, so if there's an opportunity to get out and explore and help people along the way, hey, doesn't get much better than that.
Very cool. Very cool. So everybody listening right now, I'm going to give you a link. I'm going to send it out all through the email list and put the link in the show notes. April 1st, 2nd, and 3rd is going to be the event, the Business Accelerator, and it's held in Los Angeles, right? In person in Los Angeles?
Yep, it's in LA.
Very cool. Yeah, so it's for entrepreneurs, small business owners, leaders of mid-sized companies, team leaders, people who want to level up right now, level up exactly what you're doing. It's time to take action. It's time to get off your butt. It's time to get off the bench and into the game this moment. Don't let it pass you by. Contact Deborah. Go to neimind.com. Her Facebook and LinkedIn links are right there in the show notes. Message her. Get information about this event. Contact her. Get in now because it's so high level. She has an application process that's going to weed out the ones that are tire kickers. It's going to weed out the ones that are not ready, which is okay. Everybody's not ready.
You're hard.
It's going to weed out the ones. I'm telling you, man, let's do this. Like, if you're not pumped right now, you better check your pulse because it's time to go. Time to get things done, right? And I know somebody's sitting there like, man, I really want to go, but I don't know. Like, shut up. Go. Just go. say yes and figure it out. It would be the best thing that ever happened to you. Deborah, thank you so much for coming on the show. Absolute honor and privilege to sit down and talk with you and get to know you a little bit more.
Hey, thank you. This has been a ton of fun. Really appreciate you having me. Super good.
You're welcome. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Life Transformation Radio listeners, an amazing, amazing guest impacting the world around her. If any part of our conversation today with Deborah Peters resonated with you, please contact her. Go to Facebook, go to LinkedIn. Don't be freaking creepy. Contact her, send her a message letting her know that you want to go to her event, you want to be a part of the Business Accelerator, and you want to be a part of what she's doing. Go to neimind.com, get to know her a little bit more, and then send her that friend request, send her a DM, and let her know that you listened to the episode of Life Transformation Radio. With that said, I want to wish you the best in the last month of the first quarter of 2021, and I want you to do that by living your brand. Find opportunities every day to live out the core values that you hold deep in your heart, and I call that living your brand. So until next episode, live an amazing life.